The security guard at Seoul National University hit pause on camera 14. The girl on screen was arguing with the vending machine, kicking it when her ramen got stuck. She was laughing at herself, completely unaware she was being watched. In a penthouse 15 kilometers away, Taemin Kong leaned forward in his chair for the first time in months. "Who is she?" he asked, his voice cutting through the silence. "If you think you know how this story ends, you don't. Because what happens when a Nigerian student signs a loan paper and wakes up married to Korea's most dangerous man? Stay until the end and hit subscribe because this story will have you questioning everything about contracts, consent, and falling for your captor. Let's dive in. For 6 months, Taemin had been refusing marriage candidates. 47 women brought by his father. 47 rejections. Daughters of politicians, heiresses, models, businesswomen, all dismissed with barely a glance. His father was furious. The syndicate needed an heir. But Taemin had grown so bored with life that even marriage felt like just another transaction. Then camera 14 caught his attention. Amina Okoye, Nigerian student, economics major. Father owed the Kong family 850 million won from gambling debts. She'd been making payments for 2 years, working herself to exhaustion. But it wasn't her debt that interested Taemin. It was her. She moved through campus with a confidence that didn't match her circumstances. She laughed with friends despite working 3 jobs. She argued passionately in seminars. She existed in his world without knowing she was already trapped in it. "I want her file," Taemin said. "Everything." Ji-won, his second-in-command, hesitated. "Boss, she's just a student. Her father's debt is almost paid." "I didn't ask for your opinion." Over the next 3 weeks, Taemin learned everything about Amina Okoye. She tutored English on weekends, worked at a convenience store near Gangnam Station on weeknights, cleaned offices on Sunday mornings. She sent money to her mother in Lagos every month. She'd gotten a scholarship to Seoul National University and refused to waste it despite her father's sins hanging over her head. She was tired, stressed, overworked, but never defeated, never dulled. And Taemin wanted her with an intensity that surprised him. Not just physically, though watching her on those cameras had become an obsession he wouldn't admit to anyone. But he wanted to see what she'd look like in his world. Wanted to break that confidence and see what was underneath. Wanted to own something real in a life full of transactions. "Set up the meeting," he told Ji-won. "Make it look like a final debt negotiation. Have the lawyers prepare the contract." "Boss, this is necessary," Taemin finished. "My father wants me married. I'll be married. On my terms." 3 weeks later, Amina sat in a glass office in Gangnam, exhausted. The lawyer across from her spoke in rapid Korean, pushing papers toward her. "Your father's debt. Final extension. Sign here, here, and here. Then you're free." Amina's Korean was good, but legal Korean was different. The lawyer spoke too fast, showing her where to sign, to initial, to acknowledge. She was so tired. 3 jobs, full course load, sending money to her mother in Lagos. She just wanted this nightmare to end. "This clears everything?" she asked in English. "Everything," the lawyer confirmed with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Your father's debt will be forgiven. You'll be free to focus on your studies. Just sign where indicated." She signed. 7 pages. 7 signatures. 7 initials acknowledging terms she was too exhausted to fully read. She didn't notice the words marriage contract at the top of page 3. Didn't notice the clause about consummation within 48 hours. Didn't notice that she'd just agreed to become the legal wife of Kong Taemin. "Congratulations," the lawyer said, standing. "The family will be in touch." "Wait, what family? I thought this was a bank." But he was already gone. And Amina was left holding a copy of papers she thought were her freedom. They were actually her chains. Amina was in biochemistry class when men in black suits appeared at the door. Her professor went pale. Everyone stared as they called her name. "Miss Okoye, please come with us." I have class. Now. The black SUV took her to a mansion she'd only seen in Korean dramas. Traditional architecture mixed with modern security. She was escorted through halls lined with stern-faced men until she reached a room where Taemin sat behind a massive desk, looking at her like she was a puzzle he'd finally solved. Congratulations, he said in perfect English. On our marriage. Amina laughed. It was absurd. Ridiculous. I didn't marry anyone. I signed loan papers. You signed a marriage contract. He slid a copy across his desk. Read it. Slowly this time. The room tilted as Amina read the Korean characters she'd missed. Marriage. Binding. Legal. Consummation clause. Property transfer. Spousal obligations. Her hands shook. This is illegal. I didn't consent. You signed. 7 times. In front of a licensed lawyer. It's completely legal in Korea. Taemin stood, circling her like a predator. Your father's debt is cleared. In exchange, you belong to me now. I don't belong to anyone. Amina shot to her feet, anger overriding fear. I'm not property. In my world. Taemin stopped directly in front of her, close enough she could smell his expensive cologne. You are exactly that. And we have a wedding ceremony tomorrow. Smile for the family. They'll be watching. I'll tell them I was tricked. They already know. His smile was cold. This was my father's idea, actually. A solution to 2 problems. He needs me married. You needed your father's debt cleared. Now everyone gets what they want. Except me. I wanted to finish university. I wanted my life. You still have university. You still have your life. Taemin's hand came up to touch her face, and Amina flinched back. Something dark flashed in his eyes. You just have me in it now. Permanently. Why me? Amina demanded, tears threatening. Why not one of those 47 other women? Why trap someone who wants nothing to do with this world? For the first time, Taemin's expression shifted to something almost honest. Because they bored me. Every single one of them wanted my money, my power, my name. They came prepackaged with agendas. He tilted his head, studying her. But you? You kicked a vending machine and laughed at yourself when no one was watching. You argued with your professor about economic theory like your life depended on winning. You exist like none of this matters. I wanted to see what you'd look like when it did matter. When you realized you were mine. I'll never be yours, Amina said, even though she was terrified. We'll see, Taemin replied. We have our whole lives to find out. The wedding was a nightmare dressed as tradition. Amina wore a white hanbok someone had tailored to her measurements without asking. Taemin's family watched with cold approval, his father with satisfaction, his mother with calculating assessment, various uncles and cousins with curiosity about the African woman who'd somehow become part of their dynasty. No one asked if she wanted this. No one cared. The ceremony was in Korean and English, legally binding in both languages. When Taemin lifted her veil to kiss her, his lips were cold against hers. A claiming, not a celebration. Smile, he murmured against her mouth. They're taking pictures. I hate you, she whispered back. I know, he said, and somehow that made it worse. The reception was a blur of faces and forced congratulations. Ji-won, Taemin's right-hand man, was the only one who looked at her with something like sympathy. Everyone else looked at her like an acquisition, a curiosity, a temporary amusement. When they were finally alone in what was now their bedroom, a massive space that screamed wealth and cold precision, Amina stood as far from the bed as possible. I'm not sleeping with you, she said. The contract requires consummation within 48 hours. Taemin removed his jacket, his movements deliberate. Then void the contract. I don't want to. He loosened his tie, and Amina's heart raced with fear. I chose you, Amina. Out of 47 women, I chose you. Chose. She laughed bitterly. You trapped me. You had me sign papers I couldn't understand. You should have read them carefully. You should have been honest. Her voice broke. I'm 24 years old. I have dreams, plans, a life that doesn't involve being some Mafia heir's forced bride. Something flickered across Taemin's face, almost like guilt, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. This is your life now. Then my life is a prison. Perhaps, he admitted, sitting on the edge of the bed. But it's a comfortable prison. Designer clothes. No more debt. No more working 3 jobs. You can finish your degree without worry. Your mother in Lagos will receive monthly payments. Your father's gambling debts are cleared forever. All you have to do is play your role. As your wife. As my wife, he confirmed. Is that really worse than killing yourself working to pay off a debt that would have taken you another 5 years to clear? Yes, Amina shouted. Because I chose that struggle. I didn't choose you. Taemin stood, and Amina instinctively backed toward the wall. He noticed and his jaw tightened. I'm not going to force you, he said, and for the first time, he sounded almost offended. Despite what you think of me, I'm not a rapist. The consummation clause exists to legitimize the marriage legally. But I can wait. I'm a patient man. How patient? Amina challenged. 48 hours, Taemin replied. After that, the contract allows for annulment if not consummated. So you have 2 days to decide if you want to stay married to me or go back to your life of debt and exhaustion. Choose wisely. He left her alone in the room, and Amina sank to the floor, finally letting herself cry. Not because she was scared, though she was, but because she'd been so close to freedom, and now she was further from it than ever. She didn't sleep that night. Neither did Taemin, watching security footage of her crying from his office downstairs, wondering why the sight of her tears made his chest feel tight and uncomfortable. He'd gotten what he wanted. So why did it feel wrong? The next morning, Amina woke to find Chiron sitting in a chair by the window, watching her with cold amusement. The woman was stunning. Perfectly styled hair, designer dress, the kind of beauty that looked expensive and knew it. So you're the new wife, Chiron said in English. How quaint. Did Taemin tell you about me? Or was that another thing he conveniently forgot to mention? Amina sat up quickly, pulling the blanket around herself. Who are you? Chiron Kong. Though I suppose I should say Chiron Park now since the divorce. She smiled, but it was razor sharp. I was Taemin's wife for 3 years, until I made the mistake of boring him. Get out, Amina said, finding her voice. Oh, I love the fire. Is that what caught his attention? The security footage of you fighting with vending machines. Chiron laughed at Amina's expression. You didn't know he was watching you for months? How romantic. My husband, the stalker. Ex-husband, Amina corrected. For now, Chiron replied, standing gracefully. But here's what you need to understand, African girl. Taemin gets bored easily. I was young once too. Interesting. Different. He married me against his father's wishes, said I was special. 3 years later, he divorced me for failing to produce an heir. Her eyes glittered with malice. You think you're special? You're just the next shiny toy. And when he's done playing with you, you'll be discarded just like I was. I don't want to be his toy, Amina said. I never wanted any of this. Then you're smarter than I was, Chiron admitted, her expression softening slightly. I wanted to be Mrs. Kong. I fought for it. And look where it got me. She moved toward the door, pausing. A word of advice? Don't fall in love with him. Men like Taemin don't know how to love. They only know how to possess. Remember that when he starts being kind to you, it's just another trap. After she left, Amina sat shaking. Not from fear, but from rage. Taemin had been watching her? For months? On security cameras? She stormed downstairs, finding him in his office. You watched me, she said, slamming the door. For months. On cameras. Taemin didn't even have the decency to look guilty. I was doing research. Making sure you were suitable. Suitable. Amina's voice rose. Like I'm a car you wanted to test drive? You're angry, he observed calmly. Good. Anger is better than tears. Don't patronize me. And your ex-wife was in my room this morning. Did you know about that too? Now Taemin's expression darkened. Chiron was here. Yes. Warning me that you get bored easily. That I'm just the next disposable toy. Amina crossed her arms. She's not wrong, is she? Taemin stood, his jaw tight. Chiron is bitter because I divorced her. She has no right to be in this house. Why did you divorce her? Really? That's none of your concern. I'm your wife. Amina shouted. Everything about your past is my concern now, since you made it my present. For a long moment, Taemin just stared at her. Then unexpectedly he answered. She cheated. With my cousin. In our bed. I found them together. His voice was flat, emotionless, but Amina heard the hurt underneath. I married her for love. That was my mistake. Love makes you weak. Makes you blind. I won't make that mistake again. So you trapped me in a loveless marriage instead, Amina said quietly. Is that supposed to be better? Yes, Taemin replied. Because neither of us has illusions. You hate me. I'm fascinated by you. It's honest. It's sick. It's what we have. Despite everything, Taemin kept his word about letting Amina finish her degree. G1 drove her to campus, and suddenly Amina was back in her normal life, except nothing was normal anymore. Everyone stared. News of Kang Taemin's surprise marriage had spread through Seoul like wildfire. Photos from the wedding showed Amina in traditional dress, Taemin's arm possessively around her waist. The gossip was brutal. Gold digger. How did she trap him? I heard her father owed money to the family. Poor thing probably didn't have a choice. Sarah, her Nigerian friend and only confidant in Seoul, pulled her aside after economics class. Girl, what the hell happened? Sarah demanded. You disappeared for 2 days, and now you're married to the Korean Mafia? Amina, are you okay? Amina burst into tears in the bathroom. Told Sarah everything. The contract. The trick. The wedding. The ex-wife's warning. We need to get you a lawyer, Sarah said immediately. This can't be legal. It is. I checked. In Korea, if you sign a marriage contract with proper witnesses, it's binding. And I signed it. 7 times. Amina wiped her eyes. I was so stupid. You were exhausted and they took advantage. Sarah hugged her. But Amina, you can't stay with him. This is basically kidnapping. If I leave, my father's debt comes back. Taemin made that clear. And it won't just be my father they come after. It'll be my mother, my sister, everyone I love. Amina's voice broke. I'm trapped, Sarah. Completely trapped. Then we survive, Sarah said firmly. You're the strongest woman I know. You survived 2 years of debt slavery, 3 jobs, and full course load. You can survive this. I don't know if I can survive being his wife, Amina admitted. But she had to try. That night, as the 48-hour deadline approached, Amina and Taemin sat in the bedroom in tense silence. The contract stipulated that without consummation, the marriage could be annulled. Amina could go free. But freedom came with a price. Her father's debt reinstated, her family vulnerable. 4 hours left, Taemin said, checking his watch. Have you decided? You already know my answer, Amina said bitterly. You made sure I had no real choice. You always have a choice. But his eyes said otherwise. Do I? Choose between my freedom and my family's safety? That's not a choice, that's coercion. Call it what you want. Taemin stood, moving toward her. But the clock is ticking, Amina. Either we consummate this marriage, or it ends. Choose. Amina looked at this man who'd trapped her, manipulated her, watched her on cameras like she was entertainment. This man who held her family's fate in his hands. This man who looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that interested him. If I do this, she said, her voice steady despite her fear, I have conditions. Taemin raised an eyebrow. You're in no position to negotiate. Then void the contract, she challenged. A long silence. Then, surprisingly, what conditions? I finish my degree. No interference. Agreed. My mother receives monthly payments as promised. Already arranged. And you don't touch me without permission. Ever. This marriage might be legal, but my body is mine. Taemin's jaw clenched. The consummation clause is for tonight only, Amina interrupted. After that, if you want me, you ask. And I have the right to say no. That's not how this works. Then I walk out that door right now and deal with the consequences. Taemin stared at her. And Amina saw the calculation in his eyes. He could force this. Could use his power, his influence, his physical strength. But he'd said he wasn't a rapist. She was calling his bluff. Fine, he said finally. Your body is yours. But Amina. He stepped closer. Eventually you'll want this. You'll want me. And when you do, I'll remind you of this conversation. I'll die first. We'll see. What happened that night would haunt Amina for weeks afterward. Not because Taemin was cruel. He wasn't. He was surprisingly gentle, careful, checking if she was okay even as she cried silent tears through the entire thing. But because when it was over, when the contract was sealed and her fate was locked, Taemin held her while she cried and whispered, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're mine. But I can't let you go. And Amina realized the most dangerous thing about Kang Taemin wasn't his cruelty. It was the moments when he seemed almost human. 2 weeks later, Amina was at a university event when she saw Taemin talking to Chiron in the parking lot. They were standing close, too close, and Chiron was touching his arm like she had the right. When Taemin saw Amina watching, he didn't pull away. He smiled. And Amina felt something she hadn't expected to feel. Jealousy. Amina told herself she didn't care. Why would she? She hated Taemin. He'd trapped her, manipulated her, forced her into a marriage she never wanted. If his ex-wife wanted him back, good. Maybe Chiron would distract him enough that Amina could breathe. But the image of them together, his hand on Chiron's waist, her laughing at something he said, the easy familiarity between them, burned in Amina's mind like acid. She started noticing things. How Chiron appeared at family dinners now, seated near Taemin. How she texted him constantly. Amina could see his phone lighting up. How she touched his arm, his shoulder, his hand, with the confidence of someone who'd once had rights to his body. She's playing you, Ji-won warned Amina one afternoon. Chiron wants her position back. She's making you jealous on purpose. I'm not jealous, Amina lied. I don't care who he spends time with. Then why do you look like you want to murder her every time she's in the room? Amina had no answer for that. The worst part? Taemin seemed to enjoy her jealousy. He'd catch her watching them, and that infuriating smirk would cross his face. Like this was all a game. Like her feelings, whatever they were, amused him. Does she still love you? Amina asked one night, hating herself for asking. Probably, Taemin replied, not looking up from his laptop. Chiron loves power. I represent power. So yes, she probably loves what I am. And you? Do you still love her? Now he looked up, his dark eyes unreadable. Why do you care? I don't, Amina said too quickly. I'm just trying to understand my situation. If you're going to leave me for her. I divorced her for a reason. Taemin closed his laptop, giving Amina his full attention. She betrayed me. I don't forgive betrayal. But you keep her around. Because she's useful for business. Her family has connections. He tilted his head, studying Amina. Does it bother you? Seeing us together? No. Liar. He stood, crossing to where she sat. You're jealous. It's written all over your face every time she touches me. I'm not. You are. His hand came up to cup her jaw, forcing her to look at him. And I find it fascinating. A month ago you could barely stand to be in the same room as me. Now you care who I spend time with. Progress. Amina jerked away from his touch. Don't flatter yourself. I just don't like being humiliated in front of your ex-wife. It's bad enough being your captive bride. I don't need to be your pitted one too. Captive bride. Taemin repeated, something dark flashing in his eyes. Is that still how you see yourself? That's what I am. And if I told you that you could leave? That the contract is void, your father's debt cleared permanently, no strings attached. Amina's heart stopped. What? Answer the question. If you were free to go, would you? She should say yes. Should run out that door and never look back. But something held her in place. Something complicated and terrifying that she didn't want to examine too closely. That's what I thought, Taemin said when she didn't answer. His hand touched her face again, gentler this time. You're not my captive anymore, Amina. You're my wife. There's a difference. Is there? She whispered. We're about to find out. Sarah convinced Amina to go out. You need a break from that house, her friend insisted. One night of being a normal university student. Dancing, drinking, forgetting you're married to the Korean Mafia. The club in Gangnam was packed with students and young professionals. Amina felt free for the first time in weeks. The music was loud, the drinks were strong, and for a few hours, she could pretend her life was normal. Then she saw them. Taemin and Chirin, in a VIP booth across the club. Chirin was practically in his lap, whispering in his ear, her hand on his thigh. And Taemin was letting her. The rational part of Amina's brain said this was business. That Chirin's family connections meant Taemin had to play nice. That he'd told her he didn't forgive betrayal. But the alcohol in her system and the jealousy in her heart had a different interpretation. I'm going over there, Amina announced. Bad idea, Sarah warned. Very bad idea. But Amina was already moving, the tequila shots giving her courage she'd regret later. She marched straight to the VIP section, security parting for her when they recognized Taemin's wife. Having fun? Amina asked, her voice too loud, too sharp. Taemin's expression went carefully blank. Amina, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? What are you doing here? With her. She gestured wildly at Chirin, who looked delighted by the drama. Isn't she your ex-wife? Or did I miss the memo where we're back to polygamy? You're drunk, Taemin observed, standing. Ji-won, get the car. I'm not drunk, Amina shouted, though she absolutely was. I'm just tired of pretending this is normal. Tired of watching her touch you like she has rights. Tired of being the stupid Nigerian girl you trapped into marriage for entertainment. The music seemed to stop. Everyone was staring. Phones were out, recording. This was about to become a scandal. Amina, lower your voice, Taemin said quietly, dangerously. Why? Embarrassed? Good. You should be embarrassed. You forced me to marry you, told me I was yours, made me believe. Her voice cracked. And then you parade her around like I don't exist. That's not what's happening. Then what is happening? Explain it to me like I'm stupid, since that's clearly what you think I am. Taemin's jaw clenched. We're leaving. Now. I'm not going anywhere with you. But he was already moving, grabbing her arm, pulling her toward the exit. Amina struggled, making a scene, and the phones kept recording. By the time they reached the car, she was crying angry tears, and Taemin looked like he wanted to break something. The ride home was silent. When they reached the mansion, Amina stumbled out of the car and threw up in the pristine garden. Taemin held her hair back without comment, then carried her inside when her legs wouldn't work anymore. I hate you, Amina mumbled against his chest. I know, Taemin replied, setting her on the bed. You make me crazy. I know that too. Why do you keep her around if you don't want her? Taemin knelt in front of Amina, taking her face in his hands. Because I needed to know something. Know what? If you cared. If this marriage was just a transaction to you, or if somewhere in the past month, you'd started to feel something. He brushed tears from her cheeks. Tonight, I got my answer. I don't feel anything, Amina lied. You're a terrible liar when you're drunk. He kissed her forehead, so gentle it broke her heart. Sleep, Amina. We'll talk when you're sober. But when she woke up the next morning, hungover and mortified, the internet had exploded. Mafia wife's public meltdown goes viral. Kang Taemin's Nigerian bride causes scene at club. Jealous wife attacks ex. Inside the Kang family drama. The videos were everywhere. Amina screaming, crying, accusing. Taemin trying to calm her down. Chirin looking smug in the background. It was humiliating. Worse, it was affecting business. Taemin's phone rang constantly. His father was furious. Partners were concerned about stability. The board was calling emergency meetings. I'm sorry, Amina said, finding Taemin in his office. I'm so sorry. I was drunk and stupid and… You were honest, Taemin interrupted, not looking away from his computer screen. For the first time since I forced you into this marriage, you were completely honest about what you felt. I feel terrible. You should. You've potentially cost me 3 major deals because my wife appeared unstable in public. Now he looked at her, and his expression was unreadable. But you also gave me something I didn't expect. What? Proof that this marriage isn't just a contract anymore. Not for you. Taemin. Chirin called this morning. She's thrilled. Said she knew you'd self-destruct eventually. That you weren't sophisticated enough for this world. She's already positioning herself as my advisor to the board, suggesting the marriage might need to be reconsidered. Amina's stomach dropped. Are you going to divorce me? Do you want me to? The question hung between them, heavy and dangerous. I asked you a question, Amina. Do you want to be divorced? No, she whispered, hating herself for it. I don't. Why not? A month ago, you'd have done anything to escape this marriage. Because… Amina struggled to find words. Because somewhere between hating you and being trapped by you, I started seeing you. The real you. The man who holds my hair when I'm sick. Who makes sure I eat when I'm stressed about exams. Who kissed me so gently the first time even though he didn't have to be gentle. I hate that I see that man. I hate that I want him to be real. He is real, Taemin said quietly. Is he? Or is that just another manipulation? Another way to trap me? Come here. It wasn't a command but an invitation. Amina crossed to him, and Taemin pulled her into his lap, his arms around her waist. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone, he said. When Chirin cheated on me, it wasn't the betrayal that hurt most. It was realizing I'd married an illusion. A performance. She loved the idea of being Mrs. Kang, but she never loved me. And when I divorced her, I promised myself I'd never be that vulnerable again. So you trapped me instead, Amina said. So I trapped you instead, he agreed. Because you were real. You fought vending machines and laughed at yourself. You worked yourself to exhaustion for family you barely saw. You existed without pretense. I wanted that. I wanted you. And yes, I forced your hand because I knew you'd never choose me willingly. And now I'm asking you to choose me. Not because of the contract. Not because of your father's debt. But because somewhere in this mess, maybe you feel something for me too. I do, Amina admitted. God help me, I do. But I don't know if it's real or if it's Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know if I love you or if I've just learned to survive you. Then let's find out, Taemin said. No more Chirin. No more games. No more traps. Just you and me, figuring out if this marriage can be something real. And if it can't, then I'll let you go, he promised. For real this time. Amina looked into his eyes, searching for lies, for manipulation, for another trap. But all she saw was a man as confused by his feelings as she was by hers. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. He kissed her then, and it was different from before. Not claiming. Not possessive. Just honest. But outside the office, Chirin watched through the partially open door. Her expression cold and calculating. If they thought she'd give up that easily, they were fools. And Chirin had one more card to play. 3 days later, Amina received a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Café Solite. 2 p.m. Come alone. It's about Taemin. She should have told Taemin. Should have ignored it. But curiosity won. Chiron sat in the back corner, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes. She pushed a manila envelope across the table when Amina sat down. What's this? Amina asked. The truth about your marriage contract. Chiron smiled coldly. Open it. Inside were documents, legal papers, and photographs, surveillance photos of Amina at university, at work, at the convenience store. Dated months before she signed the contract. He stalked you for 6 months, Chiron said. Documented everything. Your schedule, your friends, your habits. He knew exactly when you'd be most vulnerable, exhausted, desperate, overwhelmed. The contract wasn't an accident, Amina. It was a calculated trap from a predator who chose his prey carefully. Amina's hands shook. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know what kind of man you're falling for. He didn't fall in love with you after marriage. He became obsessed before you even knew his name. Every gentle moment, every kindness, it's all part of the game. He's playing the long con. I don't believe you. Then ask him yourself. Chiron stood, dropping cash on the table. Ask him how long he watched you. Ask him if he specifically targeted you because he knew you'd have no choice. Ask him if he feels guilty at all. She paused. Or keep living the lie. Either way, you'll never be able to trust him. You'll always wonder if it's real, or if you're just his latest obsession. Eventually, like me, you'll wonder if he's even capable of love, or if he just collects women like art pieces, beautiful, displayed, but ultimately disposable. After she left, Amina sat staring at the photographs. Her own face, smiling and unaware, captured without her knowledge or consent. Evidence of violation she hadn't known existed. The predator and the prey. Was that all they'd ever be? Amina stormed into Taemin's office that evening, throwing the envelope on his desk. Explain. Now. Taemin opened it, his expression darkening as he saw the contents. Where did you get this? Chiron. She said you stalked me for 6 months. That you specifically targeted me because you knew I'd be vulnerable. That this was all calculated, the timing, the trap, everything. Amina's voice shook. Tell me she's lying. Taemin was silent for a long moment. Then, she's not. The world tilted. I did watch you for 6 months, he continued, his voice flat. I did document your patterns. I did wait until you'd be most desperate to present the contract. Everything she said is true. Get out, Amina whispered. Amina. Get out. Get out of my sight before I do something we both regret. For the first time since she'd known him, Taemin looked genuinely afraid. Let me explain. Explain what? That you're exactly the monster I thought you were? That every kind moment was manipulation? That I was just prey? She was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. I was starting to believe this could be real. That maybe you actually cared. How stupid am I? You're not stupid. And it was manipulation. At first. Taemin stood, moving toward her. But somewhere between watching you on cameras and actually knowing you, it stopped being a game. You stopped being prey. Then what am I? Everything. The word tore out of him. You're everything I never knew I wanted. Yes, I trapped you. Yes, I manipulated you. Yes, every single thing Chiron said is true. But what she didn't tell you is that I haven't slept more than 3 hours a night since our wedding because I can't stop feeling guilty. That I fired the security company because I couldn't stand the thought of anyone else seeing those cameras. That I dream about finding you on that footage and choosing differently. Choosing to clear your father's debt without conditions, letting you be free, letting you finish your life without me in it. He ran his hands through his hair, looking more undone than Amina had ever seen him. You want the truth? Here it is. I'm obsessed with you. Completely. Unhealthily. I watch you sleep because I'm terrified you'll disappear. I keep Chiron around because I'm paranoid you'll realize you can do better, and I want a backup plan. I've become everything I hate, Because loving you has made me desperate and crazy and I don't know how to stop. That's not love, Amina said. That's possession. You're right. It is. And I'm working on that. But Amina, please don't let Chiron win. She's trying to destroy us because she wants back in. She doesn't care about your feelings or my redemption. She only cares about position and power. And what do you care about? You. Taemin's voice broke. Just you. Amina looked at this man who'd trapped her, manipulated her, watched her, forced her into a marriage she never wanted. This man who held her when she cried and made sure she ate and apologized for being gentle. This man who was a predator and a victim and a monster and somehow, impossibly human. I should leave you, she said. Yes, he agreed. You should. I should hate you for what you did. You do hate me. And you should. I should take these photographs to the police and bury you. I wouldn't stop you. Amina stepped closer, looking up into his eyes. But I won't. Do you know why? No. Because I'm just as crazy as you are. Because somewhere between being your prey and your wife, I became something I never wanted to be. Yours. Not because of contracts or debts or manipulation, but because I chose it. And I keep choosing it, even when I know better. She took his face in her hands. I'm not staying because I forgive you. I'm not staying because I trust you. I'm staying because I'm giving us a chance to figure out if we can build something real from all these lies. But Taemin, if you ever manipulate me again, if you ever trap me or watch me or treat me like prey instead of a partner, I will destroy you. Legally, publicly, completely. Do you understand? Yes, he breathed. And no more Chiron. No more ex-wives. No more games. Done. And you go to therapy. Real therapy. Because you're not healthy and neither am I, and we can't build something real on obsession and trauma. Agreed. And you tell me everything. Every secret, every sin, every moment of manipulation. We start with honesty, even if it hurts. I'll tell you everything, Taemin promised. Starting with this, I love you. I don't know if I know how to love correctly, but I love you. And I'll spend the rest of my life learning how to love you better. Amina kissed him, and it tasted like tears and truth, and the beginning of something that might actually be real. Amina graduated top of her class. Taemin sat in the audience wearing a ridiculous proud father smile, recording everything on his phone like a normal husband, not a Mafia heir. They were in couples therapy twice a week. Dr. Kim said they were a fascinating case study in trauma bonding and ethical rehabilitation. They were working on it. Chiron had been cut off completely. Last Amina heard, she'd married a politician and was making his life miserable. Good. Taemin still had control issues. Amina still had trust issues. They fought often, made up passionately, and slowly, painfully, built something resembling a real marriage. I still can't believe you stalked me on cameras, Amina said one night, lying in bed. I still can't believe you chose to stay anyway, Taemin replied, pulling her closer. I must be crazy. You are. We both are. He kissed her temple. But we're crazy together. That has to count for something. It counts for everything, Amina admitted. Outside, Seoul glittered with possibility. Inside, a marriage that started with lies was slowly becoming something true. They weren't perfect. They probably never would be. But they were real. And sometimes real is enough. If this story had you feeling all the emotions, hit that like button. Comment below. Team she should have left or team love conquers manipulation? Would you have stayed or run? Subscribe for more stories about complicated love, impossible choices, and relationships that start wrong but end right. Thank you for watching, and remember, love isn't always healthy, but healing is always possible. See you in the next one.